Hi, I'm Dan Can. Hey, welcome to the Invested Life podcast. Do you want to have impact in your business, in your life, and in your relationships? Stay tuned. We're going to dive into how just to do that all on your own with a little help from our friend, James Clear.
Most people chase success. Few build it on a foundation that lasts. On the Invested Life with Dan Can, we explore the intersection of faith, business, and personal growth, helping you invest in what matters most. This is your space to protect, provide, and promote with purpose. Join us now and start building a life you truly love.
Welcome to the Invested Life podcast. I'm Dan Can. This is the podcast where we learn how to provide, protect, and promote. If you are a husband, a father, a business leader, a community leader, this podcast is for you. On this podcast, we dive into how to invest in ourselves, others, and businesses. And those businesses, they sound like this or look like this. You Inc. How do you invest in yourself? I invest in real estate and insurance. Those are the two businesses I primarily invest in. I do own other businesses, and I definitely look at other businesses to buy all the time because I enjoy that. Now, last week, I gave my first disclaimer, and I am going to do that again. Just so you know, I am not a lawyer, I'm not a registered financial advisor, and I'm not an accountant. But what I am is a deal finder and an investor. I specialize in creating and maintaining big relationships. That's my mantra, that's my goal, that's what I'm here for. Hey, this show's about impact, so let's dive into that right now. I want to read a quote from behavior, or I would say habit specialist James Clear. He wrote a book called Atomic Habits. If you have not read that book, I would encourage you to do so. I've read it 4 times, and it is just such a powerful, powerful book. I'm going to read this quote, and this will be the premise of our whole episode today. And here it is. A profitable business is never a choice. It is a series of choices. A fit body is never a choice. It is a series of choices. A strong relationship is never a choice. It is a series of choices. If you have your phone and you can get to your notes section, or if you have a journal, I would pull that out. We are going to design step by step how to improve your business, your fitness, and relationships. This podcast is not going to be 3 hours long. I'm going to give you some step by step ways that you can improve your life. Here's the first one. In regards to all three of these things, you need to clearly identify the problem. Oftentimes, we allow for so many things to be up in our mind and our heart and our soul, and it's going back and forth. Uh-uh. You got to identify the problem. So, I want to walk you through this. I had the pleasure this week. I got invited to a university here in Spokane, Washington. That's where I live. That's where I primarily invest in real estate. And I got invited to speak at a university. And at this university, it's a wonderful place. I truly believe in it, Great Northern University. And it was a class that was business organization and communication. That was the class, business organizational and communication. So I was invited, and they asked me to come to speak in regards to how do you communicate, how do you organize. They know that I own a number of businesses, and man, I can tell you it was fantastic. The students were great, the professor was fantastic. I had opportunity to share a little bit about my story. If you've been listening to the podcast for any amount of time, you know this, but for those of you that are new, welcome. I'm Dan Kent. I am the son of 2 immigrants. My first generation to be born in North America. My mom immigrated from the UK, Britain in 1958. My biological father immigrated from Santiago, Chile in 1973. Mom had me, she was 18 years old. My biological father left when I was 4 months old. I grew up in on food stamps and Section 8 housing. My mom worked really, really hard to provide for us. My whole life, I've been blessed with amazing coaches, babysitters, mentors, awesome support. And because of that, I really have a heart to give. And so to be at this place where I get to go speak to a university is actually a really big deal for someone like me. Because of great parenting, because of my mom's sacrifice, because of coaches, teachers, and mentors, I was able to get a 4-year degree. I have a teaching degree, elementary ed, and a teaching science minor, which I always bring up because people are a little profound by that. And then I also have a master's from Faith Seminary out of Tacoma, Washington, in Christian leadership. Really believe in education, really believe in the love of learning. Because of that background, and then now where I am today, I love helping other people, which is one of the primary reasons why I have this podcast. So I got invited to this university, and their question basically was, how do you communicate clearly to different organizations? And it's basically this: you have to have clear principles, and you want to write that down. So I talked about having impact, and then I talked about your life. So in your business, you want to have a clear principle of what you're trying to do. Now, I know that that sounds so basic, but man, we lose that so often because of this, that, and the other thing. So the first thing you want to do is identify your problem. First and foremost, identify the problem. Typically, the problem is going to involve a person or people. Yes, isn't that crazy? And so, if you do have that person in your life, or you do have that group of people, you want to identify that. And then you want to identify what the problem is, whether it's miscommunication, unforgiveness, lack of passion, uh, man, truant to work. I mean, pick something, write that down, okay? Clearly define that. Now, remember, James Clear says to have success, you have to have a series, repetitive, over and over and over of choices. So, as a leader, we need to identify the problem, and then we want to write down the solution. This is why I'm asking you to write things down. There is something that happens with us as human beings when we write things down on paper that connects our heart, our mind, and our soul to a plan. I can't tell you exactly what that is, but I can give you 20 years of experience of when I write things down, it gets done. When they're up here in the cranium, 50-50. So, what I would say is write that problem down, write down the solution. If you don't know the solution, I would really encourage you to reach out to mentors. So that is a big part of my life. Hopefully, that's a big part of your life, that you have mentors in your life, people that have gone before you that could help you with the solution. Okay. And then the third thing you want to do is put an action plan on how you're going to spend time on this problem and the solution. Typically, when the problem is with a person or a group of people, you're going to have to communicate with those people. We oftentimes don't want to communicate with the people that are making our lives difficult. And that's where it compounds and gets worse. I've said this many times on the podcast. I'm going to say it again. You can't spell the word communicate without the word time. I'm going to encourage you in your schedule to schedule time with that person or group of people weekly, and what I call static times, where it's the same time, same day, every week until the problem is fixed. Now, if it's not fixed, you may have to make a decision to let that person go if you have that capacity. If you don't, I'm going to continue to keep pressing in. Okay. So that's the first part in regards to your business. Identify the problem, write it down. Typically, it's a person or a group of people. Write down what you believe the solution is. Third thing I want you to do is write down static times throughout the week, same time, same bat channel, same time you're going to get with them, okay? The second thing I mentioned was fitness. Man, I've shared this story with you, but when I first picked up Atomic Habits, I'm 6'1" with my boots on, okay? I weighed, at the time when I grabbed the book, I weighed 233 pounds. In fact, it was 233.3. That's a hoss, man. That's pretty big. And I was done with it. I read the book. I did exactly what he said. I made a series of choices. I wrote down my problem. I wrote down my solution, which was for me. Now, this works for me. Okay. I want to put another disclaimer in here. I am not a dietitian. Okay. I'm not a fitness coach, but I will say this. I took his principles from the book and I started logging my weight every single day. So for 2.5 years on my Excel spreadsheet, except for a couple of weeks when I got really mad and quit. But for the most part, every day I had my weight in there. And my goal, now this is where it becomes attainable. My goal was to lose 2 pounds a month, 2 pounds a month. Now, that's not going to get you a parade. That's not going to get you the blue ribbon. But you know what? It got me results. And so 2.5 years later, I'm down to 205. And because I had a series of choices, I changed my diet. I changed my stress level. I habitually started working out. I habitually started running. I told people what my problem was. I told them what my solution. I made static time, scheduled time to focus on myself. And what was I doing? I was communicating to myself. I was spending time on the solution. If you want to lose weight, if you want to get fit, grab your journal, write down your problem, write down your solution, schedule that time for that series of successes. And that's what I love about James Clear's book here. It's series of successes, right? Series of choices. The third one is this: strong relationships. How do you build strong relationships? I think you know where I'm going with this. Write down the names of the people that you want to spend time with. And hopefully that's your wife or your husband. Hopefully that's your children. One of the concepts that we have in our household as we're raising up our three young men here, and I'll share this with you, is we have a concept called 1, 3, and 12. We believe that you should have one best friend, you should have three really strong friends, and then you should have 12 strong associates, or I mean, they're friends, obviously, but you spend the majority of your time with or communicating with that one, the three, and the 12. Well, that doesn't happen unless you have a plan. And that is what I truly believe. If you want to have impact in your life, in your business, and in your health, those are the steps to do it. If you have not read James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, please do so. It is so good. It has provided so much opportunity for me to bless not only myself or others, but I would really, really encourage you to read it. Hey, when we get back, we're going to do DanCan Musings, and I am going to compare and contrast the dreaded artificial intelligence compared to when the internet first showed up in the 2000s after this.
One accident can change everything. Are you covered? At DanCan Insurance Agency in Spokane, we protect what matters most: your family, your car, your peace of mind. Get a free quote in a timely fashion. DanCan, because you can count on us. DanCan Insurance Agency specializes in auto, home, motorcycles, and life insurance. Call us today at 509-328-1422.
Welcome back. Okay, so this is DanCan Musings. This is where I typically will tell a story and bring some concepts together, some current events. This wonderful DanCan Musings I'm gonna compare and contrast the current season that we're in. As you know, right now, everybody is talking about this wonderful acronym AI. Now, I grew up watching Allen Iverson at Georgetown and when he played for the Philadelphia 76ers, but we're not talking about practice and we're not talking about AI. We're talking about AI, artificial intelligence. I was born in 1975. What does that mean? That means that I had the joy of growing up without the internet, without the socials, without the phone. I will say this. My family is definitely an early adopter when it came to computers because my mom worked for data processing, basically computer tech support stuff for Pan Am, which was an airline, which is no longer with us. But I had a computer in my house since 1985. Yeah, 10 years old. We had a computer. That was kind of odd. I played a couple games on it, was bored out of my mind, and really didn't like computers after that. But here's the point. I know what it's like to live without having gadgets and computers. I was also in the marketplace when the internet came to town. Now, I want to tell a story that will kind of bring this all together. So, back in 2008, I own an Allstate agency. And it was a really great opportunity. I was a chairman's award winner, which means that they send you to these fancy places. And so I got sent to Orlando to the Ritz-Carlton, which is a fantastic area. And I was in a business meeting with all the other men and women around the country that had won this award. Well, I don't know anybody there because I'm new, okay, and I'm younger at this point, and I'm just sitting there by myself. And this gentleman is giving a fantastic presentation about internet marketing, and it was really new, cutting edge at this point, right? And so I'm taking notes. I always have a journal. I'm always taking notes. Well, there was this woman sitting next to me that was really professional. She didn't want anything to do with Dan Can. She wasn't talking to me. She wasn't doing small talk. So the gentleman gets done and he talks about how he created this web page and it brought in all these leads. And so the gentleman next to the put together businesswoman, he raises his hand because it was question times. He raised his hand and he goes, and he's from the deep south and he had a deep accent, right? And so I'll never forget this. He goes, I was having trouble with leads and I got on that there internet. And I'm telling you, I wrote it down. I was laughing so hard. I wrote down that there internet. And the woman next to me, she looked at my journal and she started laughing and she said, "Did you just really write down that there internet?" And I looked at her, I said, "Come on, that's funny." And so she laughed, I laughed. Ever since that moment, if I get on the internet, probably 1 out of 10 times, I'm going to say out loud that there internet. So if you want to join me in that little saying, go ahead. How does this compare, or what is this like with AI? This is what I want to communicate to those of us that are business professionals. I have no stats, I have no books to support my philosophy, but I think I'm right. Back in 2000, 2002, when the internet came around, there was mass hysteria that the internet was going to destroy mom and pop businesses. At the time, I was doing direct mail marketing for auto dealerships, selling advertising for a living. And there were literally rumors that all dealerships around the nation were going to close. Everybody was going to order their vehicles online. There was going to be no need for dealerships because the internet was going to take over the world. Now, hey, the internet did obviously affect dealerships. The internet obviously did affect small businesses, but they're still alive today. They just had to adapt and they had to utilize it, okay? We're hearing a lot of noise in regards to how AI is going to destroy this and destroy that. And yes, it's going to affect some. I have a sneaky feeling, now this is the Dan Can musings, that their internet and AI are going to be very similar. AI is going to help you adapt. AI is going to help you grow. It's going to help you enhance the services or the products that you provide. I'm not 100% sure it's going to destroy everything. Obviously, it's going to have an effect, but I don't think it's going to destroy everything. That's my musings. Please bring that into your vocab, that their internet. When we come back, I'll bring it all together.
Tired of missing real estate deals because you were waiting for the bank to approve your funding? At Wave Capital Investing, we get you funded fast with flexible terms and a streamlined process. No red tape, no stress. Apply today at wavecapitallending.com and ride the wave to your next successful real estate investment.
All right. Welcome to the Invest a Life podcast, where we learn how to provide, protect, and promote. I shared James Clear's quote about series of choices in regards to business health and relationships. I also shared a little bit in regards to my opinion, and it's just my opinion, in regards to AI and the internet. If you want to make positive choices in your life, in your health, in your business, I would encourage you to use AI, ChatGPT, to get a plan. You can do that. How can I lose weight? What's the most effective diet? Or what is the most effective physical regimen to get me fit? Those answers will come out. But the funny thing is AI is just like going to Google. You could have gone to Google, the internet, and type in the same thing, and you're fundamentally going to get the same answers. Now, I know that AI can do coding, and I know it can create all these things, and I've seen all the splashes on Instagram. But here's the point. You gotta want to have to change first. You're gonna want to have a desire to be better. You want to have impact. We spent a lot of time talking about impact and how you could do that. I gave you 3 steps to write down. I'm going to say it again. Write these things down. Write these things down. Look at it. Go after it. One of the things that I do in my life, and I would encourage you to do this as well. I'm a Christian. I'm a believer. I go to church on Sundays, and one of the things I do is I have a journal. I take notes, and every Wednesday I go over those notes. So I don't just take notes on Sunday, put it away. I go over the notes on Sunday, and then on Wednesday I go over those notes again. If you're a believer, if you go to church, I'd encourage you to do that. Hey, I am so thankful that you came to this podcast. One of the things that I would love to do for you is I believe that you were born for impact. I have 5 books that I really, really encourage my listeners to read. If you want that list of books for impact for both personal and business, please email me at dancan@wavecapitallending.com. If you email me, I will send you that list. And now, once again, that's dancan@wavecapitallending.com. If you think that you have an opportunity to grow financially, have impact, and you want to hear about some of my real estate investments, I would encourage you to email me as well. That same email. I would love to have a conversation with you, or you could visit my website, which is investwithdancan.com. And once again, that's investwithdancan.com. I'm currently managing $10.5 million. My real estate partner and I, we buy anywhere from 25 to 45 properties a year, and we flip those. We have a fund, a fix and flip fund, if you're an accredited investor, that you can invest with us. And you get to work with me personally. Hey, I think that's a good idea. And as always, Dan Can listeners, love well and do good.